In the book of Numbers, chapter 11, you read about how the Jewish people who were once in slavery for 400 years and then were freed from slavery by God through Moses, and then they're all grumbling at God. And you would think it would be because like everybody was dying or there was some sort of horrible disease being spread. No. Do you want to know what they were complaining about? Food. They were grumbling because all they had was manna and water, and they said, man, if only we could go back to Egypt where we got to eat fish and meat and we had garlic and onions. They literally were like, I wish I could go back to being a slave in Egypt so that I can eat these foods. Like, if that is not, if that doesn't shock you, I mean, I just don't know what will. I was having a conversation with someone today about gluttony and the stronghold that it has on so many Christians, because this is never talked about in the church, at least not in my experience. I mean, it's just no one talks about it. Yet you go into a church and half the church is overweight. And I'm not saying that as a judgment. I used to be very overweight, but it's like the one sin that the church seems to have just allowed and no one talks about it. And so I want to talk about it. And this isn't the first time I've talked about it, but it needs to be said again. So like I said, I was having a conversation with someone, and our church is actually doing a 21-day of prayer and fasting. And so many people are giving up processed foods and sugar for 21 days. And I had this thought, like, the whole point of fasting and praying for 21 days, I would think, is so that you can no longer have that stronghold. Whatever it is that you're doing that you don't want to do anymore because you're giving it up for 21 days for the Lord, why would you, after 21 days, pick up the terrible habit that you just put down? And so I was talking to someone and they were like, oh, I'm not going to do it forever, just for the 21 days. Well, then why even bother doing it now? What's the difference? If you're not going to give up your sin and your plan isn't to like continue to do well, then why bother even starting? But anyway, I'm making this video because, like I said, nobody ever talks about this. You know, gluttony isn't just about eating too much or eating in excess, although that is gluttony, to eat past the point where you're already full. Your body's telling you stop and you just continue because it tastes good. But even eating things that aren't natural. God was very intentional. He said, I gave you the fruit from the trees, the plants from the ground, every fish in the sea, animals. Like, we got plenty of options, you guys. There is no reason why we need to eat processed foods. And common sense tells us that a cookie is not natural. The cookie didn't grow from a plant, and we didn't pick the cookie and then eat it. Like, I hate to like say it like that, but it's the truth. Like, none of us has an excuse at this point to know what is healthy and what is not. But the problem is we're all just so used to it. All our parents did it. Their parents did it. All the feasts we have are just, it's candy and cookies and cake. And that's how we celebrate it now. But just because something has become normalized doesn't mean it's good for us. We are not to follow this world. We are to follow God. And God gave us the food we need to eat, and that's what we should be eating. So anyway, I just wanted to come on here and tell you guys what I think about these things. And I'm curious to see what other people think about this. So comment below. Love you guys.